Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wednesday Call Live! Hosted live in front of a studio audience in beautiful Burlington, North Carolina. Today's special guest hosts, Rick and Jordan, the window!
Oh my God. Let's go, baby. All right, y'all gonna have a seat. I was about to say, that's our time. So, no, but seriously, guys, what an honor. What a privilege to be here at headquarters. And I was talking with Andy Albright. I was like, man, this is such a privilege. I was going back through watching Stephen Davies share the call last week, and ABN and Connors lit it up, and I'm just like, thanks, guys. Now we got to follow that, you know. But and shoes. Hey, Terry. Just in case I forget my name, you know what I'm saying right there. I got to thank Andy Riddle for that. But man, I'm so humbled. I was, just thinking about this morning, we're going back through everything, and I'm just going, man, it's crazy how this business, how the speed, how quickly things can change for you. Yeah. And if there's one thing, what I want you to take away from today is, if I could install more hope into you, if I could download some hope, Ivan, right? If I could take a slice of hope and instill that in you, because, man, I don't forget where we come from, right? One of our core values is gratitude. And there's not a day that goes by that I'm not grateful for the dream that Andy Albright dreamt up, right? His dream is big enough for all of ours. And I was thinking, man, what a heck of an example that we get to follow, and the speed at which he's moving. The speed of the leader is the speed of the pack, right? And we moving this thing quick, baby. We getting this thing lit up. So I'm just excited, guys. It's definitely one of those things that we don't take this lightly. We prepared for this, and we crossed all our T's and dotted all our I's, because we wanted to make sure that we brought something for you guys, not just to emotionally take home, but also that you can have a life change, right? Something, I believe we have something today that can help you, okay? So my wife, I got to give credit where credit is due. My wife, Angelica, so her name's Angelica. For those of you that don't know, Jel is what we call her. She's an angel. Her and my 16-month-old baby boy, Brightman, are home. So everybody say, hey, Brighty, hey, Jel. We were talking last night, and I was just thinking about all the things that have happened in this business, the obstacles, right? Who in here is going through an obstacle right now, right? Who had an obstacle this morning on the way getting here, right? Yeah, exactly. So, how many know that when you make a decision, right, when you stand up and you say, hey, I'm going to make a decision to do something, that there's going to be an attack, right? There's going to be an enemy that's going to try to stop it, right? And the cool thing about when that happens is I get fired up, because I start going, uh-oh, there's something about good happening. You know what I mean? It's almost like a confirmation that what we're doing is the right thing, right? And so I think there's people, if you're brand new with us, you're just getting started, you're listening in, obviously I want you to know you can do this thing, but I also want you to know that with this team, anything is possible. When we come together, right, we have such a power. Look around, guys. I mean, everybody in here is working together, and we're all an asset that bring each other to a higher place. And I love how Andy designed it that way. Diversity is one of our core values. We have different skills and different pieces that fit together so that we can all climb higher. So I'm just so grateful for my wife and my son. I do got to tell you, so today, this is important to us. My mom's name is Mary. She's on the call watching. Give you a quick, funny story about my mom. I've been in the business 6 years, okay? Beginning of 2013. It was actually March, so it's 6 years this month. And I've been trying to recruit my mom because I knew from day one. I was like, homegirl gonna kill it if we could just get her in, you know. She'll pretend that she can't sell. This girl could sell anything if she puts her mind to it. She could convince you. And so I was trying to get her in. I was trying to show her mom, you know, and so Jordan steps into the business, right? It wasn't even a hard sell for him at all. She jumps right in. I'm like, all right, well, I guess now we know, right? But today is my mama's birthday, so I was thinking, wouldn't it be fitting if we all sang her happy birthday? She would love that. So I'm not the greatest singer, so I need some help. We all need some help. But can we? Her name is, yeah. I'm gonna turn this off right here. But her name is Mary, so let's sing it. Happy birthday to Mary. Y'all ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mary. Happy birthday to you. Ooh la la! Woo! So, needless to say, without my mom, we wouldn't be here. The crazy thing is, I'm 29 years old. My mom just turned 29 years old as well. So I don't know how it happened. But we're excited. So love you, Mom. So glad you're a part of the business, and we're blowing this thing up. She's got like 35 people on the call, too. So we're growing. So just excited and honored. I want to tell you guys a little bit of what's going on, some of the future events that are happening, because we got some good stuff coming down the pipe. Yeah. First off, if you guys don't have it, pull out your calendars. We want to put this on your calendar. Family reunion, okay? Man, talk about a life-changing event. That's something that I would mark your calendar as this is the moment, this is the shift, this is the time that your whole life can change, right? Andy says sometimes you got to make a decision in an emotional environment, right? Decisions for life change take place in this environment. So put this on your calendar, July 18th through the 21st, right? And title it in your calendar, Change My Entire Life, right? I'm telling you, this is the moment where it happens. And I've seen this time and time again. Every time I get around the team, it smashes any doubt we have, right? When you see the leaders walk across stage, right? When you see Paul Roberts share from his heart his story and what he's overcome, all of a sudden, I don't have any excuse anymore, right? It eliminates all doubt. I'm constantly trying to get around the leadership. And what a great way to do it, because it'll position you to win, okay? So definitely put that on your calendar. Now I'm fired up about the ACT, getting your act together, baby. We got the Alliance certification training. This is the best way to take somebody who knows nothing and get them completely certified to be able to be an expert in what we do, right? Alliance certification training. So if you're anywhere local to Houston, and by local, I mean like a 10-hour flight, that would be local, right? April 24th through the 27th, put that on your calendar. Jacksonville, Florida. Uh-oh, jacked up. Y'all got to come see the home office. I'm telling y'all, we're going to bring it at the home office in Jacksonville. That is June 5th through June 8th. And they're going to do one in Burlington, back here up in HQ, June 12th through the 14th. I would be applying to all three, right? I would not stop. If you're local to one of the cities, I wouldn't stop there, right? Davey said it last week. He had some safety schools. You know what I'm saying? Have you a couple safety schools on backup, because they're going to fill up. There's only 50 select people that are going to be selected for those. And I want to also encourage you, if you're brand new, some of that application stuff on there, you may not have done yet. Just fill it out the best you can. Email those to act@naaleads.com. That's act@naaleads.com. Because this is one of those times when you may be doubting, you may be questioning if maybe you're too new, maybe you're too wet behind the ears to get in on something like this. Just trust me, okay? This is the time that you want to go ahead and fill it out and send it in anyway, even if a lot of it's empty. I had a guy tell me, he goes, well, I hadn't even got my license yet. And I said, hey, Bo, right, put it in, see what happens, right? There's some applications sometimes I'm just like, you got to put it in to find out, right? You know what I'm saying? So there's only one way to find out, right? But we really do want you guys there. It'll impact you big time. Last thing I'm going to promote is we're going to talk about Albright's calendar. I don't know, have y'all seen naaleads.com? Have y'all seen on the schedule under hotspots? Albright's calendar, man, he jams it up. I mean, I'm talking back to back to back to back. He's hard to follow. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not, like, I mean this. It's like, wow, it is just jammed up. I was in Lakeland just last week. We were at the ACT in Lakeland getting our act together, right? And I'm not kidding you. I followed Andy around, and I watched him just jam back to back to back to back. And so he's going to be in 8 cities in April, okay? So you can look it up on hotspots.com, NAAhotspots.com. But I know for a fact right here, which I have, San Antonio on the 22nd, Duluth, Georgia, Duluth is on fire. That's right. Y'all done got me fired up, lost track where I was. I don't remember what I was promoting. Lakeland, Florida, the 24th. And then down in Miami, Fort Lauderdale on the 25th. So look at his calendar, guys, because one thing I noticed with Albright, he leaves a vacuum of space for us to follow, right? Like, Billy, is it okay if I draw on this for a second? So check this out. Let's just say, right? He said maybe, but I grabbed it anyway. All right, let's just say for this example, okay, you're riding down the road, it's a 3-lane highway. These are cars, okay? I am not the greatest artiste, but you can kind of imagine, right? Well, if you're back here, okay, and you're rolling down the road and there's 3 cars blocked. Y'all ever been in this situation before? Jane knows my pain, right? I look at it, I'm like, are they just all looking at each other in the windows like, hey, right? Can somebody move somewhere, do something, right? Well, watch what happens, okay? When this car decides, I'm going to draw it in a different color. When this car decides to move, okay, what does that now create here? It creates space for this guy to move. So what Albright is constantly doing is he's constantly creating this space for us to chase after, right? He ain't staying still. He's moving. And the cool thing is the speed of the leader is the speed of the pack, which creates all this other space for all these other people to follow through as well, right? And so, people talk about like, okay, one thing we do is we sell, we recruit, and we build, right? We all sell, we all recruit, we all build. Well, the cool thing is, like, I look at this scenario here, and I go, if we're all selling, we're all recruiting, and we're all building, there's that space that begins to happen. It's like that vacuum that all of a sudden that there's motion. It's inevitable. I mean, you watch in a situation like this, you watch when this guy moves, right? What do you think naturally is going to happen now? It's always going to happen. It's just you can't help it. And so I'm always watching Albright, and I'm amazed by how much he's moving, and it's like, he don't stop, right? So my encouragement to you is like, maybe if you grade yourself on that, like sell, recruit, and build, right? Really, we should all be doing all 3, and it's pretty simple to copy. I mean, I'm not too good at many things, Terry. Like, I keep it real simple. If I'm not selling, I'm not recruiting, I'm not building, right? It's pretty much I'm spending quality time with my family, right? And so, I'm not good at. So somebody asked me the other day, "How's your golf game?" I'm like, "It's terrible," right? I don't have it, there's so many things that it's instead of trading the good, right? Don't let the good rob you of the great, right? And so there's so many things in my life. Like when I come to a conference, I make a list of things that I need to stop doing, right? And it's not always the things that, I need to improve. I got to get this skill or I got to get this quality better. But a lot of times it's like, man, I'm looking at myself going, man, what are all the things in my life that I need to quit doing so I have more time to be selling, recruiting, and building, right? So I admire that about Albright. I always look at his calendar. I'm like, man, This guy sets the pace. I think he covers more ground than anybody else in the entire organization consistently every month. I know last night he was on a 3.5-hour flight to San Francisco. I'm like, Bo, you just don't stop, you know? And he's texting me up in the air. I don't know how that even happens on the citation, but it's inspiring. He good, I'll tell you what. And then the Alaskan cruise. Let's talk a little bit about this because we say premium points polar bears. Y'all know about this, right? But it's looking at, hey, give yourself permission to dream a little bit, right? Come with us on this trip. I'm telling you, this trip is going to be crazy. I'm excited about it. Can we pull up that leaderboard real quick? I'm not too sure on. You got that, Billy? So all right. So before we get too fired up, right? We were rehearsing this, and I was like, do I really have to be the one that pulls up the leaderboard, right? Like, I don't want to be that guy, right? But here's the crazy thing, okay? Like, I'm looking at it. It's like we scheduled this out. Like, I had it in my calendar. I wanted to win the entire trip by the end of February because I wanted to free up more time to be able to travel and build and pour back into the team. And so it's cool because I'm looking at where it's the fruit's on the tree, guys. Like, it's actually working, and I got to give credit to the system, right? There's no way we could do these types of numbers. There's no way if it weren't for the system that Andy Albright put in place. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, but I'm just fired up because this trip's going to be crazy. One of the things that I'm excited about on the trip, has anybody seen on that video that Albright put out, the Aurora Borealis? The Northern Lights, oh my gosh, and that bubble that you get up in, the North Star. I want to do that. I don't know how many people get to do the bubble, but I want to be one that's on the list, right? That's going to be crazy. And then, just seeing the, the indoor skydiving and seeing that ship and going all over. And then there's an extension to Seattle as well, which we were talking about, Pacific Northwest. That's always been a dream of ours to go out there. And here's the cool thing with the Alliance. Wherever you're at, it's possible to win this trip, okay? If you're just getting started today, hey, I have good news, okay? There's 60,000 bonus points that you can win to earn this trip. All you have to do is 115,000 points. Right. And, I mean, just to tell you proof positive, this system works. Like, you can put that together in a couple months if you really focus, right? Stephen Davies was talking about last week, focus. That was his last point. What is focus? Anybody remember the way he defined focus? He said, focus is the art of saying no. I was like, dadgum, I had to write that one down, right? And I was rolling down the road too, so it was like, I didn't know to say no to writing while I was driving or what. But the art of saying no, and so I'm like, man, there's so many good points. Davies brought it last week, man. God, did he bring it? I was thinking, man, he basically took a 3-day seminar and packed it into 90 minutes. I was like, thanks, Davies, I got to follow that, right? me and Jordan were trying to take notes. I'm like, man, this was like a unbelievable amount of material that he covered in just 90 minutes. And so get your calendar right? Get it set up, get it jammed up, because I'll promise you this. The reason why we don't take that step, do you know why? There's only 2 emotions, right? There's fear and there's love, right? And so the reason why we don't take that step, it's the fear of unknown, right? What if we don't get the results? What if we put it on the calendar and we fail, right? I'll tell you this, if we don't put it on the calendar, there ain't no chance we're going to there's no chance we're going to succeed. We got to put it on the calendar and jam it up. And so even now as I'm speaking, I'm thinking about areas that I could be putting more into, right? I'm thinking about, man, I could have been more efficient with my time as I flew in last night. I could have been, there's all these different things. But you know what? Instead of looking at the past on what I didn't do, let's give each other a clean slate, 100% grace, right? Clean the slate. I'll tell you this, before we get started on anything, what I do is I clean my entire desk. I don't want anything on my desk. Like no decoration. I'm just telling you, I don't have any. computer screen up with any kind of notifications. I don't want my email. I put my phone on that moon. Y'all know about the moon? Yeah. I put it on the moon when I'm about to start dialing. Why is that? Because I don't want anything to get in the way of what's on my calendar. I have to protect my dialing time, right? I'll get distracted in a heartbeat. Lord knows I'll get some sort of a text or email or this comes through, and it might be important, right? But if I don't protect that time, so easily I can get distracted, I get taken off course. So making sure your calendar is full. That, I think, is the number one key to winning this trip soon. Writing it out. If you're not consistently writing your goals, right? If you're not writing them on a daily basis and it doesn't have a time frame as to when it's supposed to be done by, like, let's be honest, like, do we really even know our goals, right? Are we just hoping that the work is going to work out, right? If you were playing darts and you didn't know where the bullseye was, right? And you're just throwing darts hoping it's going to hit, I mean, eventually you're probably going to hit something, but have yourself a clear target. You know, write it down. I want to have Alaska won by June, right? By June, I want 115,000 points, and here's what that looks like for me, right? I want to make sure I have 20 appointments booked every single week until Alaska. This is that stuff that's like, man, it doesn't feel good to hear, but it's true, right? Like, it's the stuff that actually works. And there's a book, it's called Goals by Brian Tracy. And from the first time Andy Albright talked about that goal, I was like, man, I gotta write that down. I gotta read that book. And he went through it about 18 months ago. It was right around the time my son was born. And it was convicting, right? I was actually not writing my goals out the way I should have been. And so having that conviction moving forward, conviction is the belief that what you're doing is right.
That's right.
Right? The belief in what you're doing is right. And what we do, we help families. There's no doubt about that. I'm 100% convinced that we make a difference in people's lives every single day. And at the very core of what we're doing, if you know we're helping people, I think it takes the limits in our mind, it takes the doubts off how big we can go, because at the root, what's somebody going to say, right? Hey, you helped too many people, Toby. I'm so, it's like, shh. So knowing that where you're coming from is from a place of goodness, that you're doing the right thing. I think that's so important. So I want to bring you guys up to speed a little bit. Stay with me here, because I think this is important. A lot of you guys have not yet heard our story, and that's one of the things that Albright asked us to share is our story. And so, imagine this, okay? Imagine you're just getting started, okay? Like I was 6 years ago, March of 2013. 23-year-old kid, right? Never sold anything. I didn't even sell candy bars, Terry. Like I didn't sell nothing. I ate them all is what happened. So people always look at Jordan and they look at me and then they look back at me and they go, what happened to you? Right? He ate all my food. That's what happened. Mom's meatloaf second servings compounded over the years. So no. But on a real note, like I was just this broken, busted, disgusted kid that was going through the motions, working at a cubicle. I was working at a bank in Jacksonville, Florida, and I knew I was destined for more. Like there was something about me. I don't want to say I was special, like, because on the call last week, Stephen Davies talked about, like, really we're not special, and the sooner we can accept that and realize we're going to have to work hard just like everybody else, it levels the playing field, right? And so I didn't think I was special, but I knew I was called to something bigger than what I was doing. Has anybody ever felt like that before? Yeah. Like you just know that there's something in you that you were created for more than where you're at, right? And so I was looking for an opportunity. I was looking for a shot. I was looking for a way to get out of where I was. And I remember when I would look around at this cubicle farm, this sea of just people just grinding away, I could literally see it was just like this hamster wheel, this rat race, if you will, right? And Robert Kiyosaki talks about, and Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is one of the books on the 8 Steps to Success list, is he says, the definition of the rat race is going to a job, right, to get a paycheck to pay your bills, right? And then to go to a job to get a paycheck to pay your bills, and this ongoing, never-ending cycle. And I knew that's where I was at. I just didn't know how to get out of that cycle, right? And so I'm so thankful for my buddy Mark Marcellus, who introduced me to Andy Riddle and Andy Albright, because I was looking for a shot, but I didn't know how to get out. And so imagine you're this 23-year-old kid just getting started. You never sold anything before. You don't even know a system on how to do it. And somebody takes you by the hand and says, hey, come with us, I'm going to show you. And the cool thing is Andy Riddle took me under his wing and he showed me what he was doing, right? And I'm so grateful for Andy Riddle because he was the guy that took that phone call, right, when I was 0 for 14, rolling down the road in my 2000 Ford Escape, which the funny thing about the word escape was that was exactly what you wanted to do when you got in this thing. Like, I ain't kidding you. Like, it was nasty. But but I remember rolling down the road after going 0 for 14, 2 weeks in a row. I had 7 appointments the first week, 7 appointments the second week. And keep in mind, I had invested the money in the leads, right? I mean, I'd pretty much I depleted my resources on leads and licensing and tests and, you know, gas. And I was literally asking myself on the way home, how am I going to make this work, right? Maybe it works for Andy Riddle. Maybe it works for Andy Albright. Maybe it works for Paul Roberts and Stephen Davies and Diane Lampy. But what about me, right? Do I have what it takes to do this too? And I remember in that moment, I'll never forget, I was sitting there just wondering if I could do it, and tears began to stream down my eyes, and I was going, I gotta call somebody. And thank God Andy Riddle took that call, you know, because he began to encourage me, and he began to tell me how, look, this is a part of the process. This is normal. The good thing about adversity when you're going through it is it makes you stronger, right? It's not about the success that you're going to have. It's about the person that you're becoming, right? And the cool thing about the struggle you're going through, that obstacle, it expands your capacity, right? Now, the same struggles that happened back then, they don't bug me now, right? That chargeback, that client that calls and wants to cancel, now it's no big deal. I just smile and say, okay, I'll be by. We'll get the paperwork out to you. I'll see you Thursday, right? That's a writer downer right there. That might have helped somebody right there. Because I don't take it personally. If someone wants to cancel, no problem. It's another chance for me to get back out in front of them to help them out, you know? And maybe I didn't do a good job talking them down in the budget. Maybe that's me, right? I take responsibility. But I think the relationship, keeping that relationship first is so key when you're dealing with, these are things I did not know when I was starting, right? So going back to where I was, I'm rolling down the road, Andy Riddle takes that phone call, and he begins to encourage me, right? He begins to tell me, hey, look, man, it's just the numbers. Guess what? Those numbers next week are going to shine because I know the numbers, they don't lie. If you put in the work, you are guaranteed. People want certainty, right? They want that firm foot, that guarantee, right? You're guaranteed success if you don't give up, okay? It's 100% guaranteed. He even brought back the 8 steps to success, right? Who in here follows the 8 steps to success? I'm telling you guys, if it weren't for that book, right? If it weren't for the layout, that guarantee, I don't know. I probably would have thrown in the towel early, to be honest with you. But seeing a system, seeing a plan, knowing, okay, this is, I got to get a policy on myself, right? And that was one of the things that I realized I had not done yet, right? So I'm out here running appointments. Who's been there before? You're running appointments. You can't figure out what you're doing wrong, and you don't have it on yourself yet. That's a tough situation to be in, right? Because step 1 ain't done. Right? I got a perfect blueprint on how this thing works, and I haven't done step 1, and how am I going to expect results, right? And so putting yourself in the situation where you believe it first, right? So that was kind of the point where I remember thinking, golly, this is something I can do, right? And the crazy thing about this story is I came home and we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. It was on the 3rd floor. It was one of those apartments that went so bad that they turned into condos. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? They said, heck with the apartment, we're going to change it. We're going to make these condos, right? And I don't know what it was, but I think the neighbors, because we had like pest control. I'm talking to the point, we had the place bug bombed so many times that my wife was having allergic reactions to the chemicals. Like it was that bad. And I remember coming home, and I had just gotten home from running 0 for 14, right? And when I go to bed at night, I wear a retainer, okay? Which I know is kind of dorky. Y'all can laugh at me or whatever. I still have it, right? This is like from like 7th grade too. I've gotten a couple new ones because they get lost and broken or whatever. But anyway, so I go home and I'm going to get ready for bed, and I open up my retainer case, okay? And keep in mind, this 1-bedroom apartment, it was old. It had been around a while. And what happens after time in Florida is we get those roaches. Not the big ones. I'm talking about the small ones, like the German, the nasty ones, the ones that like multiply overnight into like thousands. I knew it was bad too, because the first day we got into the apartment, the guy who was painting said, you might want to take a look at underneath the kitchen cabinets. And I was like, okay. And I said, well, it's just these small ones. He goes, that means that there's thousands of them multiplying. I'm just letting you know. And so what had happened was I opened up my retainer case, and one of them bad boys came out of my retainer case. And I'm going to tell you, Stephanie, sometimes you'll have a moment, right? Sometimes you will have it's a pivotal point. It's almost like you know that your life just changed direction, right? It's almost like that straw that broke the camel's back, right? And I remember looking myself dead in the mirror, and I remember thinking, you're not going to let your family live like this, are you? And I don't know what it is for you. I don't know if you had a German roach problem. I don't know if you have an old car that's breaking down every time you try to go out, or you got the tires on the tires are so bald that you're like praying over them before you start up, right? I don't know where you're at, right? But I want to encourage you to find that thing, right? Find that German roach, if you will, for you, right? Because those two emotions, right? Fear and love, right? I was actually more mad than anything else, right? And I hate to say like I was motivated by anger, but man, there is a certain righteous anger that comes out when you know you're not in a situation that you should be. It's almost like, who in here has kids, right? Y'all know that mama bear, that mama line gonna come out. You touch those babies, right? I'm just telling you, everybody's got it. And so that was that side of me that began to really, I can't explain that motivation, but I want to encourage you to find that for you, because when it happens, you'll know, right? When you're so underwater and you're tired of doing this, at some point you got to go, all right, I've had enough, right? What is it for you? Ask yourself, write it down. What is your German cockroach, right? And begin to think about that, because I think all of motivation starts with some sort of situation that you're in, right? It may be a situation where, like Andy talks about, you're either a lover or a hater, right? Hey, hate's a strong word, but I hated those German roaches. Like I hated them to the point that it moved me to action, right? Just think about this for 1 second, okay? You are here in this meeting, right? And let's just say Billy comes in, right, and he kneels down next to you, and he says, it's Ron, right? Do you have kids? How many? 7 kids? Awesome, this is a perfect example. Okay. My man been working. Give me some on that, right? So you got a reason, right? If Billy came in and very quietly next to you whispered in your ears and said, hey, Ron, one of your sons just got into an accident, and it's looking very grim. They need you at the hospital. Do you think at that moment, do you think Ron is going, well, Brant's speaking, Jordan's up here about to light it up, we at the middle of TWC, well, hey, right after this is over, we're going to get to it, right? What do you think he's thinking? He gone, right? You wouldn't need to say anything else. Even if there was security at the back of the room, you would literally bowl over the security. What if you got all the way to your car and you realized you forgot your keys? Are you sitting in your car going, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. This is my sign, I guess. Maybe I should just go back and sit through the rest of the meeting and I'll meet up with my son later. Heck no. You're going to sprint back, grab your keys, run back to the car. And what if you got to the car and the car wouldn't start? What are you doing? You start running, right? You start running, right? All of a sudden, there's a different gear of desperation, right? That desperation, and I'm telling you guys, like when that kicks in, you cannot stop anybody. You cannot stop that parent that is trying to get to the hospital to see their child. I don't care who you are. I don't care what police officer tries to stop you. You ain't stopping. You're going to your child, right? And so how does that relate to what we do, right? You know, Paul Roberts talks about this all the time, but love conquers all, right? And at the root, he loves his son so much that he will do anything to get to him, right? And in a way, I look at this business that way because, you know, I love my family so much. You ain't gonna mess with my family, right? This is my Alliance family. Don't mess with Debbie. I'm gonna come after you mess with Debbie, right? And so it's that same love that kicks you into a higher gear and goes, you ain't gonna mess with my family, right? You ain't gonna, hey, there's not me with somebody that's gonna mess with somebody on my team, right? You ain't gonna mess with my clients, right? You're not gonna do it. Papa Bear will come out in a heartbeat. But I want to encourage you because it's like I think sometimes we're living through that cycle, and we haven't yet given ourselves permission to have that righteous anger to get out of it, right? Give yourself permission. It's okay if you got to get out of a situation. It's okay to look crazy, right? He don't care what anybody thinks if he ran up out of here. You think he's thinking, well, I wonder what everybody else thinks. Heck no. He gone, right? It's the same way with when you're in a desperate situation. You will do things that other people are going to think is crazy. You are going to step out so boldly because you're like, I don't care. I got to do something, right? And so one of the things I've been doing is stirring up that emotion because, you know, Tom Brady talks about this a lot, but there's a certain level of when you become a champion, right? He has to trick himself into thinking every single game he goes in that nobody believes that he can do it, that he's the underdog, right? He's Tom Brady, right? He ain't the underdog. You kidding me? He's the big dog, but he convinces himself that hunger and that desperation is there. And so I don't know if you got to trick yourself into it or you just got to turn on the lights and realize it, right? But the greats always convince themselves that they have more gas in the tank, right? They could go bigger, right? If we were honest with ourselves, like, don't raise your hand, but if you're honest with yourself, like, is there some more in you that you could be giving, right? Is there something that you've left on the table? And I'll tell you this, going back to it, it's really fulfilling. When you operate in your capacity, you have a purpose, right? Everybody wants to know that they have a sense of contribution, right? You're operating in your purpose. That's your gift. You're doing it to the best of your ability. You're making that impact. And it's so cool because growth inspires growth, right? When you see Andy Albright growing, it inspires me to get it in gear. When I see Andy Riddle growing, I go, man, I got to step up to the plate, right? When I see Diane Lampy traveling all over the country, right? I go, man, I could be doing more. I could be giving more. I could be serving more. I could be going more, right? So let that sink in. Let that challenge you because one of the things that we want to encourage you to do is we want to encourage you to get to that family reunion. If this is the first time you've heard about it, if this is your first call, maybe you don't even know what we're talking about yet. Y'all all know we sell vacuum cleaners, right? Everybody good on that? There's some people listening like, what? Oh, don't drop the feed yet. I was just kidding, right? But this conference really is going to change your life, okay? So utilize the tools that are in place to leverage. So I am so honored. I'm so grateful to introduce my brother. I want to brag on him a little bit first. So growing up with Jordan, Jordan has always been larger than life, right? And not just on a physical level, but his mindset, he always thinks bigger. And so when I started this business, Jordan, he had his own deal going on. He was all SEC in college, right? He played starting left tackle. He was an academic All-American, okay? Had a 3.94 GPA, and he was 91st percentile on the MCATs, okay? So needless to say, he wasn't thinking about getting an insurance, right? He had his own deal going on. And so, it's cool because our topic today is how to win big with friends and family, and why it's important to overcome the obstacles that you're going through right now, okay? And so Jordan, he's going to tell his story, but Jordan was one of those guys that from the outside looking in, I would come back all fired up from a conference, and he'd be like, "Now, what color was the Kool-Aid y'all were drinking?" Right? And so it's crazy because I had to win first. I had to overcome my struggles and my obstacles so that I could create space for him to come in, right? And so my encouragement to you is, hey, there's some big fish watching. You're writing your story. Right now, whether you realize it or not, you're writing your story, and there's some big fish watching, right? They're online, they're on Facebook, they're following Instagram, whatever, Twitter, if you tweet, I don't know. But they're watching, and the cool thing is they're seeing if you're going to overcome that obstacle. They're seeing if you can pass that test because they want to come follow too, right? We're building a pipeline, baby. We're not getting buckets, right? There's some opportunity. There's some jobs out there that look like, oh well, it's a bigger bucket, right? You got more income. It ain't a pipeline, baby. I'm just telling you. And so when you have a business, you attract what you are, right? And so you being you have to win your battle first. That's right? It's like when I was on the plane yesterday, they told me to put the O2 mask on myself first rather than the person next to me. Why is that? Why is it important? Because if I can't help myself, how am I going to help somebody else? That's right. If I'm starving for oxygen myself, how am I going to reach out and help somebody else? Right? And so it's so applicable to this business is keep that oxygen mask on yourself, right? Because then you'll be able to reach out and help other people. So, guys, it's an honor. It's a privilege to call him my brother. But y'all give it up for my brother, Jordan Swindell.
Love you. Love you, brother. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's high praise coming from him. So I appreciate that a lot. First, I want to shout out my wife, Bridget. She's watching or she's listening. She's at work. She's got her headphones in. And I love you and I miss you, and I'm so thankful for all you do. And then also my mama's birthday. That's another shout out for her. She's so amazing, and I'm so grateful for the parents that I have and how they've cultivated this culture of us three kids and my sister, and so thankful for all that they have done. And I also want to shout out Andy and Jane Albright. Without them, none of this would be possible. And so I'm so grateful for this opportunity and how not only has he changed my life, but he's changed my whole family's life. And so I'm really grateful for that. And I'd like to start off by talking about my story. So if you can kind of put yourself in my shoes, I was always like a big kid growing up. I was always 6 inches taller than everybody. I never had a growth spurt. I was just literally always 6 inches tall. It just kept going. And so I think I was like 11 pounds, 2 ounces?
Yeah.
Just big. And so always wanted to play football.
Sorry, Mama.
And yeah. Well, my mom's 6 foot. She's all right. Always wanted to play football. And growing up, I couldn't. I was literally too big. They wouldn't let me play Pop Warner. And so I always had this dream. I remember watching Cowboys and Jaguars. That's my team, Jaguars, growing up. And I always wanted to play and never had the opportunity. And so finally in high school, they had to let me play. And so come to find out, not playing all that time, I was terrible. And it was like a complete shock to me because I just figured I'd show up and I'd be amazing. You know, that's what I thought, but that's not how it goes. And so I learned how to be good. I got with my coaches and I basically listened to the system and stick to the system. And so I was able to get some scholarships. I ended up having 13 Division I scholarships. And so I decided to go to the University of Kentucky for a number of reasons, and ended up meeting my wife there, and that's the number one right there. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's it. And so once I was there, I started out as a freshman. Most, like 90% of offensive linemen redshirt. And so I had this goal that I wasn't going to redshirt. And by the end of the preseason camp, I was the swing tackle. So if anybody got hurt, I would go in and play left or right tackle. And so that was a goal that I had set and achieved. And after that, I had started getting better and better and ended up starting for 3 years, 2 years at right tackle, 1 year at left tackle. And I was the captain of our team for my junior and senior year. And just everything was growing. And I always had this goal to get to the NFL. And so I had this feeling that I was going to do it. I always knew it. I envisioned it. I always knew that I was going to get there. And so I ended up being able to be an undrafted free agent with the Los Angeles Rams. And so I went out to LA and I was there for 6 months. And when you have this dream of what something is, and you worked for it for I don't know how many years, 12 years, and I was finally there, and it was everything that you could ever imagine. It was, you wake up, you get to go hang out with your buddies, you practice, you do the game that you love, you work out, and you just get to go home and you eat good. And that's everything. And so I'm there, and I'm living this surreal dream of how I'm going to be, you know, an NFL star and all this different stuff. And come to find out, I get cut the last week at camp. And so it really, I tell people this, it felt like I was in this relationship for 12 years with this thing I loved. And ended up just punching me in the gut, you know. It took my dream away from me. And so I cried on the phone to my wife, and she flew out and come and consoled me. And I always knew that there was something bigger for me, and I thought it was football. And so I didn't know exactly what it was going to be. And after the Rams, I decided I needed to get back into school because I felt called to go into medicine. And so I got through all my medical school requirements and studied for the MCAT for like 6 months, you know, 5 hours, or it was basically 10 hours a day for 6 months. And I had no planning other than I need to get the MCAT done. And so I finished that in May of 2018. And once I finished that, I came up for air, and I was like, oh, okay, I gotta do something for a year and a half. And I started talking with my mom and my dad, and he was like, oh, you should get a pressure washer and go door to door. And I was like, that's a great idea. Outside, get $100 a driveway, and then he's like, well, if you want to do that and do sales and basically talk with people all day, why don't you do what your brother does? And I was like, that's an even better idea. So I called him up, quick, 4-minute conversation with him. He had me fired up out of my mind. I was like, $500, what? And so I got in the class really quick, and I was really just chomping at the bit with him, and I was like, what do I need to do to get this thing rolling? I didn't know why. I just knew that I had to start fast. That's what he taught me. And so I got through my class as fast as I possibly could, and I'm the type of person that when I study for something, I study everything to a T. I learn everything. I know it backwards, forwards, ups, downs, everything. And so Brant's telling me, no, you don't even need to, don't even start. Just click through the course and get it done as fast as you can. So for me, that was an adjustment. And I know some people might think that, oh, I need to learn all this. You don't. Just get through it quick, you know. And so I got through it in like 12 and a half hours. And then after that.
The whole licensing course, 12 hours and 50 minutes.
Yeah. Impressive. Yeah. So after that, I got my license and calling him on the phone 5 times a day. When can I start? When can I start? What can I do? What do I need to do? And he's telling me all these different things, and I'm just knocking them out. And so what that did for me was it built momentum. It allowed me to get going to where now I know how to work, and I know what I need to do to get it done. And so after I started dialing, I would get out in the field, and something would hit me. And I have all this momentum where, you know, a chargeback or someone cancels or something like that. But I've got this momentum flowing to where it isn't going to slow me down. That's right. And so I was able to, with the help of my brother and coaching, really, it wasn't me. It was him and me following the system. I was able to win the September Slam contest. And what was it?
So 3rd month in the business. So he got licensed July, got through the class in 12 hours, 50 minutes. 3rd month, so it was July, August, September, he paid $26,500 in a month and got a $6,916 bonus check cash.
That felt good.
Albright.
Tell you what, that was nice. So after that, I started realizing that this is not just a job, and then that this can be a huge business, that it is something greater, you know. It could be my greater thing. And so I've started with my brother helping build my team and get my mom involved. And I'm just so thankful to God and Andy and my brother and my mom that my team is growing. And this talks about winning big with friends and family. And that's all I know is friends and family. And so that's my whole team. And yeah. And I'm excited. I got my buddy Joey Herrick. I think he's on the call. He's the man. He was my roommate for 2 years. And when people talk about how Brant's got a natural gift and how he could be, you know, all these perfect qualities, Joey's got it. He smells good. He looks good. He talks good. And I'm just proud of him. He's out there working right now, and he played wide receiver, and so. When you're a wide receiver and you're a white guy, you always got this stigma of you ain't fast, you can't jump. Yeah, exactly. And so all the coaches always call him a scrapper. And the thing is he really did have all those abilities, but he was also a scrapper. And so he was able to jump high, he was fast, he had quick cuts and everything. And so that's why he was able to excel. And now, it's the same thing with this business. This dude's got everything that you want. You want him to be, you know, look good, smell good, talk good, everything, but he's also got that scrapper. And I'm just proud of him he's going through some stuff, getting nicked, dinged and all that, and he's just still fighting. So I'm proud of that. And I'm excited about this, everything that's coming up with my family and my friends. So
his team, I just want to tell y'all, his team is exploding right now. It's like, and it's cool to see because our talk today is about how to win big with friends and family, and it's crazy with what Albright has done with the ARC. Okay, it's so cool to see how the team is rallying together, but it's also inspiring to see how much bigger it allows us to get this thing right. And the warm market, I'm telling y'all, it's crazy because really we look at everybody as family, right? Like even like. The people in our team, like Richard and Melissa Smith, right? They're family, right? And one of the things we talk about is like how quickly can we take somebody from a response on Indeed or Monster or Craigslist, how quickly can we take them from cold market and bring them to a warm market as a family, right? And so there's a reason why we call it our Alliance family, because that's how we treat each other, right? That's how we act. We help each other like we're family. And it's cool because I'm seeing that culture. Jordan has only really known the ARC. His team has only really known the ARC. And so there's just this this speed of trust, right? And one of the cool things that we're going to talk about today is how when you trust the leader, the motion happens a lot quicker.
That's right.
Right?
You teach it.
If Jordan didn't know me from Adam, right, specifically Adam Katz, right? but if he didn't know me from Adam, he probably, if I had told him to go straight to the quiz and take the quiz as many times as you need to, so you can pass to move on, he probably would be like, I don't know. That seems a little crazy, right? I should know this material a little more. And the crazy thing is he trusts me so much. I told him, look, go straight to the quiz, right? Take the quiz as many times as you need to so you can get through it fast. And he listened and he did it and he got the results. And what we did is we created momentum, right? And when you got that big mo, ain't nothing gonna stop you with that momentum. It's like a freight train. And so from the get-go, that's what we created. And I'll tell you, like I was going back through. Have y'all read this book, The Millionaire Maker Manual?
Yeah.
So is it cool if I'm frank with you?
Yeah.
Okay. So I read this book, kind of just read through it when I had gotten started because I wasn't too concerned about making $1 million. I was trying to get 100 grand, right? I was trying to pay the bills, right? So yeah, I can answer it if you want. So I didn't really take as much time reading this book as I should have, right? And so I was reading back through it, and I love this. He says here, and this is page 68, he says, the power of the pipeline, okay? The pipeline duplicates. It does not innovate, right? It's predictable as the day is long, right? Check this next point. He says, momentum covers all errors. So what we're doing by moving fast, there's a reason why Albright talks about TikTok. He's got 2 times on his watch, right? Now and right now. Now and right now, right? There's a reason why he talks about that speed, right? Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to create momentum by getting a couple small wins. A small win for Jordan was him getting through class in 12 hours and 50 minutes. And I actually got the report in an email, so I can show you where it says 12 hours and 50 minutes on there. But that's his story, right? He's created momentum from the get-go. And so one of the cool things that we're doing is now his team is copying that, right? They're popping out of class fast because that's what's expected, right? There's a vacuum there. It's like, oh, okay, we'll step right in here and just get it done, right? And the speed of the leader is the speed of the pack, right? And so I like this here. A destination is clearly defined, right? Where are you going? What's your destination? What's the bullseye on the dartboard, right? And getting that, y'all heard of my friend Habakkuk Tutu?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I like him, Tutu.
So yeah. So it says in Habakkuk 2:2, it says, write the vision and make it known, right? And so when I look at, we're the designers of this life. I mean, God's given us that ability to, what we say with our mouth and believe in our heart will come to pass.
Oh, now you're a preacher, bro.
Now I'm preaching, right? And so having a clear destination of where you're going, what's it going to look like, right? I couldn't believe for the $1 million a year income when I started, right? But I could believe for 6 figures. So I started with that 8 Steps book, right? And the cool thing is now I've got that and I'm going, man, if I could show other people this process, right? Now I'm reading back through this and I'm going, golly, Albright makes it so simple, right? There's nothing complicated about what we do, right? The only thing that's complicated is us. It's these 6 inches between our ears, right? And so I like how he talks about defining the destination, right? Scorecards and scoreboards are easy to watch. Be a person who likes to be measured, right? You show me how I'm measured, I'll show you how I can perform, right? If I don't know what I'm measured on, I'm just going to try to work, but I ain't getting anywhere that way, right? And so I like how Albright clearly defines, hey, we all sell, we all recruit, we all build. And now that we're consistent, there's no confusion. It's clear across the board, right? So what this will do is this will cause exponential growth, right? So how many know there's addition, right? There's multiplication, and then there's exponential multiplication, you know, like them little tiny numbers. I don't know, he's a lot smarter than me, but them tiny ones at the top, he could probably explain it. He used a word earlier at breakfast. I was like, I ain't never heard that word. You got to break that down. What did you say?
Visceral.
Visceral. Homeboy drops visceral on me. I'm like, I ain't even had my eggs yet, bro. Like, let me get through my coffee before you start dropping visceral. So it expands exponentially, right? It creates urgency, right? There's a reason why we have urgency in what we do, right? There's only so much time, right? I'll tell you, I've been in this business 6 years. My biggest regret is not moving faster and building faster and copying faster, right? If I could encourage you, if you're just getting started, I would say, man, get around Albright faster, right? He's going to be in 8 cities in April, right? I would say book your flight tickets, get your hotel room, and get around him because you want to learn the skills to do what he does, right? Because once you know the skill, you can duplicate it over and over and over, right? But that urgency is such an important thing. Like there is so many times when I go to say, hey, you know, I want to make dials. Y'all ever been here before? It's time to make dials, but all of a sudden there's dishes in the sink. And I don't even do dishes, but all of a sudden it is the most appealing thing in the world when it's dial time. Y'all know what I'm saying? Right? I'm in there doing laundry. My wife's like, "What are you? Oh, it must be dial time, huh?" Shoot, she got me, you know. But creating that urgency, because if you put it on your calendar and you stick to your calendar, it builds consistency, and self-esteem is built on consistency. So when you do what you say you're going to do, when you're going to do it, all of a sudden now you have a higher self-esteem. It's crazy. By following what you said you were going to do, it builds that self-esteem, and you carry that into your appointments, you carry that into the house, you carry that into recruiting. Y'all want to know one of the best recruiting tools out there? There's a bunch of tools. There's Monster, there's Indeed, there's Craigslist, there's a bunch of tools. One of the best tools is Cashflow Glow, right? I'm just telling you, you go out and you run yourself 20 appointments, you deposit $4 or $5 grand in the bank account, right? You come rolling up. I'm telling you, people gonna ask what you do because you look different, right? And you've made yourself separate from everybody else because you've done what you said you're gonna do, right? Here's the cool thing. When you don't do what you said you're going to do, the only person a lot of times that knows is you, right? You didn't hold yourself accountable, right? Nobody else knows, but you do, and that is what's going to affect moving forward. So what you got to do is give yourself grace, clean the slate, like we talked about before. I'm real big on grace. I'm a grace junkie up in here, you know? But it's constant. Yeah, G-Chet. He said G-Chet. I said I'm a grace junkie. He said G-Chet. But it allows you to recruit. Like, I believe this, okay? You set the pace, right? You be the example, you put the cash in the account, and people are going to want to be a part of what you're doing. Right? Y'all got to come to Jacksonville. I'm telling y'all, we're doing the ACT here in the beginning of June. Y'all got to come check out Jacksonville. And it's inspiring to see. I mean, it's nothing like Albright's office here yet, but we're already expanding, guys. We're outgrowing our space, and we're going, man, we got another space we're going to try to move into, and it's just expanding. And it's like that vision that Albright has cast, it stretches across the nation, right? Yeah. It's not just here. Like, I think sometimes I come here and I realize, like, this is y'all's home hotspot. This is y'all's hometown. Y'all here every week. Don't take it for granted what you have here, because there's people like all over the country that just they can't wait to get around the heat. Y'all are the sauce. Like y'all are what make this whole thing happen. And the last thing about that is it builds capacity, right? One of the coolest things I ever experienced was when I was getting started. I got a chance to. I shouldn't say when I was getting started, after I had some success, right? I think it was right around the time Albright rolled out with what SEAL Team 20 was. And that was when you paid $20,000 in a month and you had 2 new recruits, okay? Kyle Cater remembers because we were down in airboats down in Florida checking out alligators for this trip. It was awesome. But we talk about get noticed, right? That was a way that I got a little bit of exposure for Albright, because that was like I was separate from the rest, because I was like, hey, I'm SEAL team, you know. Stephen Davies was talking about last week, get noticed, right? It's not hard for Jordan being 6'8", 285. He's kind of got that easy, but getting noticed. And so going back to what I was saying is, like, when I got around Albright, I got on the jet with Albright, I got to see his capacity. I got to see how he doesn't just work from sun up to sundown. This man, I'm telling you, it's inspiring. He's working on the flights. He's pouring it out. And I'm thinking to myself, he's got another city. We were in like 9 cities in 3 days. It was one of those like early morning, afternoon, evening. I lost track about the third day. I was like, where are we? You know what I'm saying? Like I was lost in just so much. But Albright is just so consistent, right? And he lays that down, and it's cool because his capacity, it's almost like that's normal for him. You know, three cities in a day, 3 days in a row, ain't no big deal. On the way back, from the last city, he's sitting there texting, nonstop, texting out, blasting out this, post this, getting with staff, encouraging this person, inspiring this. And I'm just like, one thing I know is my capacity has stretched by getting around Albright. So what I was used to before, was a 9 to 5, right? And so, and to be honest with you, I don't even think I was working 9 to 5, right? Right? Well, when you break it down with us, right? Now we don't get graded on work. It don't matter about work. It's the results, right? So all of a sudden now the time that I used to put in for somebody else's dream, right? A boss, so I didn't get fired, right? Now is, hey, I got to get on this phone and I got to fill up my schedule, right? And I don't care if it takes me 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours on the phone, I got to get my 20 appointments, right? And the cool thing is now I'm at the point where I'll book 20 appointments by like 11:30 a.m., and now I got time to recruit. I got time to encourage other people and show other people and bring them in the truck with me and let's go for a ride along. I'm not saying do all that right now. I'm not saying get a private jet and hit 9 cities in 3 days, right? But when you get around that, all of a sudden now dials, kidding me? Right? It ain't nothing. Let's get on the phone. Let's knock this out, right? It's a numbers game. Another thing about dials, can I share with you all a little pro tip? So when you go to dial, one of the biggest comforts when you go to dial is having yourself a thick stack of leads. I want more leads than I can get a hold of. Like I want more than I need. We call it like that surplus, that abundance, right? Just a little bit more than you think you need, because there's nothing more encouraging than having 20 appointments and then looking at your stack of leads and going, oh dang, I still got like 50 more leads I got to get to next week. You know what I'm saying? And now I got more material and more resources I can bring in the field. If I get a no-show, I got other people I can hand them out to and distribute leads to. So having more is always better, right? And so 2 things we're trying to help you do is not just do more, but do better as well. Mo better, right? Like Albright talks about. So give yourself permission to expand your capacity and get around Albright. It leverages time, right? Y'all ever heard Albright say, making money while I'm making money while I'm making money, right? I think about that all the time, right? How could I be leveraging my time more? How could I be doing what Albright does even more, right? I'm even thinking right now as we're doing this, I'm thinking, man, I could have done one more text to that one person. I'm thinking of that guy that I didn't get on the call, right? But you do the best you can. Give yourself grace. Keep moving forward. Jam up the schedule, and get around the right people. So the last thing is association. So when you get around people, it changes your perspective, right? If all you do is hang out with your 5 closest friends, right? Dang, man, sometimes it feels good, though, when you get around those old, high school friends. and they're like, man, you're just doing so good. It's like, God, that feels great, you know? Like, hey, can I get an amen on that? Anybody? Golly, Lord knows it does feel good. But here's the thing. If that's all we ever did, we would stay. As a matter of fact, I don't even think we'd stay. I think we'd go backwards, right? And so one of the cool things about getting around Albright, right, getting around Stephen Davies and Paul Roberts and Diane Lampy, right, is it stretches my vision and my capacity for the future. Has anybody seen Diane Lampy's house?
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
You talk about a dreamer, right? The porte-cochere, right? The porte-cochere. It really expands my belief level of what we can do with this opportunity. So making sure that you're giving yourself permission to dream and get around the dreamers. So let's unpack this, okay? So how to win big with friends and family. The first thing you have to do, you have to win yourself, right? You got to put that oxygen mask on yourself. It is very hard to help somebody without that O2 mask on you, right? We talked a little bit about it, but the cash flow glow, right? That's the number one tool for recruiting. People want to follow people that got it, right? I was thinking back as we started this business, and it was like, I used to get intimidated by people that made 6 figures a year, right? And now I'm telling Jordan, bro, you can attract people that make 6 figures a year because you got a business, right? And they got a job. Right? Oh. Isn't that crazy? He's got a business. He's got the freedom, and everybody's looking for freedom. Yeah. Right? Everybody wants to know that they've got options. That's right? I love that about Mike and Noelle Leventovich, right? They got crazy freedom, right? They're all over the place. But the other thing that they do is they stick to their schedule. We were down at ACT. I got to be careful because it's no longer ALA. But we were at ACT last week and in Lakeland, and somehow Mike Leventovich found, I don't even know how he did this, but he shows up, he's got people at the ACT, right? He gives 3 talks, and then he's gone. He goes and does a hotspot down in Miami, which is a 4-hour drive, right? Shows the plan, does the meeting, does the night out, spends the night out there, wakes up, drives 4 hours back, had another talk at 8 a.m. the next morning, right? I'm thinking to myself, most people would have said, I don't think I could squeeze that in my schedule. Most people would have been like, okay, got an excuse, it's valid, like I'm here, I don't think I can work that in. But not Mike Leventovich, right? Or like Davey says, the Leventovi. But it inspires me because I'm like, man, there's more we could be doing. There's more effective, there's more efficiency that we could be doing. So the next thing is trust the system, right? We were talking about this before, but the speed of the leader is the speed of the pack, right? And the more I can trust that this system works, the more that I don't buck it, the more that I don't fight it, the more I just take that step of faith and I go, you know what? I'm here for a reason, right? There ain't no coincidences, right? And so that trust is going to get you to that next place. And sometimes when you trust the system and you take that step of faith, you don't immediately see the results. Has anybody ever been there before? I bought the leads, right? I went on the appointments, right? I even sat down with a client and helped him with a policy, right? But I hadn't gotten the results yet, right? I'm still waiting on that paycheck to come through, right? Don't get weary in doing good, okay? I believe that's in Galatians, but I'm preaching a little bit up in here. But it actually talks about that. Galatians 6:9. So it says, and let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up, right? How important is that when we're trusting the system and we're copying? You got to know, hey, this is a 90-day plan, right? This is not just right now, right? We're going to set up a 90-day plan. And heck, what could it be like? Imagine what it's going to be like in 3 years. If you consistently just keep planting those seeds and you keep doing the do, you keep following that system, imagine what it's going to be like 3 years from now. I'm telling you, it's going to be crazy, right? It's exciting. I think Corporate America sometimes robs us of our dreams, right? They have a way of trying, and I don't even think it's intentional. It's almost like it's intentional. It's almost like they're trying to help you in their mind. They're trying to help you. Hey, don't get your expectations up too much. Don't get too excited now. You know, and really, until you step into this environment here and you start believing that you can have it too, right? It's for you, right? I was looking in Robb Report recently. There's $12,000 pair of jeans. I was like, 12 grand for jeans, bro. I mean, I've heard of Lucky, but 12 grand for some jeans. And I caught myself, but my negative thinking that had been ingrained in me began to work on me. And I caught myself and I said, you know what? I had to ask myself this question. If there's $12,000 pair of jeans out there, who are they for? Who are they for?
I think you look good on
So I mean, ask yourself, you know, if this stuff exists, why not for you? Right? The cool thing about our system is you really can have anything. I mean, you set it, you can do anything. There's no limits on what our system allows you to do. So trust the system. The third thing is don't give up, okay? There's only 2 ways to fail in this business. Y'all know the 2 ways? Anybody? Number 1 is not get started. That's a good way to fail. And then the other way is to give up. I'll never forget, I was at Andy Albright's house. Y'all been to his compound, I guess you could call it? Yeah. It ain't just a house. It's like a house on a house on a house on a house on a house, right? All built around a pool with gorgeous rock gardens and waterfalls and koi fish. And I remember where he was taking us on a tour all the way around, and we went to the 3rd floor of the pool house. And there's a pool table and a ping pong table up there. And so after beating Mac Hefner in some pool, shots fired, we were sitting there and we were at the high top table. And I'll never forget, Albright looked at me dead in the eyes. And you know how when somebody says something, they say it with conviction? They say it with sincerity to where it's like, you know, there's no doubt in their mind what they're saying is true, right? He said it with 100% certainty. He said, Brant, he said, this business is 100% guaranteed if you don't give up. It's 100% guaranteed, you know, and I think about, you know, that was 6 years ago, right? But I still hold on to that emotion. I still hold on to that feeling of, I can't give up. I got too many people relying on me, right? I got a reason to move, right? We want to give you a purpose. We want to give you that feeling of contribution. Like you really do matter, right? You do matter. Here you matter, right? People need to know that, right? It's not something we just say. You got a reason to wake up in the morning and jump out of bed and be grateful for an opportunity to serve, right? An opportunity to give back, an opportunity to change not just your life, but your family's life, right? And so why we don't give up is because we have too much at stake. We got too much on the line, Terry. Yeah, we do. You know? And I think about, you know, it's more than just me. It's more than just the team. It's the future, right? This is just the beginning. I'm telling you guys, over the next 90 days, it's about to get crazy. I'm so excited about what Albright's lining up. The consultants that he is bringing in, right? Oh my gosh, right? World class, right? And I get excited to think about all the good things that are coming down the pipe. But give yourself that permission, right? Make yourself that decision. Adam Katz talked about, you know, he draws a line in the concrete, right? It ain't in the sand because the sand gets washed away. Right? Draw that line in the concrete. Just make a decision. Because once you decide, people can only commit to your commitments. And all of a sudden, when you're 100% committed, my buddy Kyle Cater, like, I don't doubt his commitment level, right? It doesn't occur to me to question his commitment level. I know he's made a decision, right? And it's crystal clear, right? It's like, okay, my man's moving forward. I'm on board. Let's go, right? And that's one thing I never questioned Andy Riddle's commitment. I saw what he overcame. I saw what he went through. So reasons to overcome obstacles now. You are closer than you think. Receive that. You're closer than you think. Y'all ever seen that picture of the dude that's chopping a tunnel through the rock, right? And he's the younger guy that's got that pickaxe and he's chopping through the rock. And there's an older gentleman heading back the other way. And he's passing him with his pickaxe down. He's got his head down. He's giving up. And in the picture, when you zoom out, you can see that tunnel was less than 6 inches away from diamonds, right? You're closer than you think, right? Don't give up. You know, and here's the sad thing, like just to let y'all know, this ain't all rainbows and butterflies and unicorns, right? The sad thing is, you know, not every single person is going to stick with it. We do realize that. But if we can save y'all from that enemy of doubt, because it's 100% guaranteed, right? Those people that gave up, man, they got to live with that. How does that feel? How do they look themselves in the eyes in the morning in the mirror and go, man, I threw in the towel. Now they've labeled themselves as quitters. We ain't quitters up in here.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? We going to get through it. I promise you it going to work, right? This system works, right? And I'm telling you, like I see it. You got to see it before you can seize it, right? So when in 2000, talking about obstacles, in 2016, my wife, I'll never forget, I was home at the time, and y'all ever been in the room when somebody hears some news and you hear that there's this specific screech, there's this scream that it just sends chills down your spine, like you just can't explain this particular. I mean, there's a lot of joyful, there's a lot of sad, but I heard that screech. And I knew immediately somebody had passed away. I knew. It was like, uh-oh, right? And so just trying to explain what actually happened, her dad at 52 passed away in his sleep, right? He had COPD, he got pneumonia, he took some NyQuil. We were supposed to be going over there to pick him up to bring him to the hospital. He didn't make it, 52 years old, right? Another reason why it's so important what we do, right? But you talk about a struggle, you talk about an obstacle, you talk about something that could have stopped us. I mean, Andy always says, you know, Andy and Jane didn't quit on the same day, right? I'm telling you, there's times when you're going to need somebody other than your significant other. Like you're going to need to lean on somebody on the team, right? And I'm so grateful for Tim and Gay Goad for being there because they came in and they just loved us, right? They didn't tell us how to think. They didn't tell us what to change. They just sat and loved us, right? And I'm so grateful to have them in my life because if it weren't for the people that were around us, you know, everybody knows when you see a turtle up on a fence post, you know they didn't get there all by themselves, right? So that was a big blow. I mean, a big blow. And to tell you the other part of the story is 9 months later, we get another call. I'm in the field, right? So her dad just passed away, which was probably one of the most traumatic things we've ever had to go through as a couple. Well, it spun her mom into a very dark place. So 9 months later, her mom's 48, we get another call, right? I was in disbelief. I did not believe my wife. I did not. I was like checking the date, like making sure it's not April Fool's Day. I'm like, this is just not funny. And I gotta say, man, like, if you get punched in the face, right, and then you get knocked out, the only way you can get back up is the people around you, right? And I hate to get emotional on you guys, but that moment in time where you just realize you just can't do it. It's almost like you don't have what it takes. You don't have enough in you to keep going. I was listening on the way back because I was in the field and I had a decision to make, right? Do I keep running appointments? Or do I go be with my wife? I was like, what's right, you know? And still to this day, I know I did what I was supposed to do, right? And it sounds crazy, it sounds backwards, but I needed to do what I was supposed to do. And I finished out the day and I helped the rest of those families. And the crazy thing is, it's sad, like, oh man, I should have been there. I didn't know the severity of the situation, right? I knew she was in the hospital, right? But right after appointments, I went straight to the hospital. And thankfully, she was on a respirator at that point, so she hadn't completely passed away. And we were there for Denise, Jell's mom, at 48 years old as she took her last breaths. And for a 24-year-old kid at the time, you know, to see my wife lose both of her parents, there's no explanation for how we could keep moving forward if it weren't for this team, right? If it weren't for the love, if it weren't for the connections, if it weren't for the text from Terry and Tia Edwards, right? You know, if it weren't for the support. And so why is it important for you to overcome the obstacles you're going through? Because everybody else needs your win. They need it. They need that example. And so, Jell, I'm just so grateful that you didn't give up on me. I'm grateful that we kept moving forward through that, because we're stronger people now because of that. And we expanded our capacity. We expanded our ability to move through. And you're going to have tough things happen in your life, right? You're going to get those blows on an idle Tuesday when you least expect it. Most people fear the things that never even happen. It's not those things that never happen. It's the things that just completely blindside you, right? And you have to prepare for it in advance. You got to have a system set up that's going to make sure that you don't go off the deep end yourself. And so having that system, having that family, having that support and that love, there's no way we could have done it without you guys. So I tell you that with my heart being open, because I really, when I say I'm grateful every morning I wake up, I mean that. Like, I don't know where we would be without the Alliance. I really don't. To give you a positive side of the story, right after that, the beginning of 2017, we said 2016 was our darkest year we've ever had. 2017, we found out we got pregnant, and you talk about a blessing. We named him Brightman, right? And so he turned what was a dark time into, now it's like, man, we have this light at the end of the tunnel, right? And he gets to grow up with you guys, right? He gets to grow up running around. Billy asked me earlier before we were getting started, he said, hey, what's your favorite song? What gets you pumped up? Immediately, I started playing my son's favorite song, because it gets me excited just to think about him dancing, you know? Like, this boy's he loves to dance. But he's such a joy, and it's almost like that pillar that keeps us reminded of that dark time and that bright time. The second reason why to overcome the obstacles now is growth begins with making a decision. Growth brings capacity, and capacity brings fulfillment, right? So we were talking about before, right, how Albright's capacity is so great, right? The cool thing about capacity is when it expands and you get that growth, right, it brings fulfillment. All of a sudden now you're going, wow, like I am strong enough to take that. It prepares you to where you can take that next step forward without having a question, well, I didn't get through the last one, right? Your capacity is bigger. You're able to take that step forward. And I always admire Albright for all that he's been through. When I watch his life, right, when I watch the ups and the downs, and I've seen the stuff I know about what Albright's been through that he doesn't advertise, right? The stuff that I know is going on behind the scenes that it's like, man, you know, he was able to do a TWC with that going on, right? it inspires me to dream bigger. It inspires me to go bigger. And the last thing is your future is brighter. Think about what it's going to be like, right? Hold on to that image, right? Because it's so easy to look at the situation where we're at right now. But if you think about what it's going to be like 3 years out, all of a sudden you completely forget about all the other variables. I'm focused on the bullseye, right? So listen, I think there's enough time between now and family reunion where we can do something with the Alliance that's never been done before. I think we can fill up that place in there with more agents. We'll be busting at the seams, right? And I look at it and I'm going, man, it's about to get crazy. Y'all hang on because it's about to go crazy. Can we give it up one more time for Andy and Jane Albright? Thank them so much. We love you guys. Let's go big. I'll see you at the family reunion. Love y'all.